Good morning, everybody. Natalie coming to live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. So yummy. So good. Good. So hope everybody's doing well. Again, lots going on, lots of moving, and new ways of perceiving the world. People, again, I see left and right are starting to shed their old self and start to rise into this new way of understanding, this new way of being, this new way of engaging the world. And it's just sort of happening organically, which is awesome. Because before it's like either force or organically. And I think people are finally coming to their wits' ends on, the systems that we've had. Now, not that the systems we had were 100% bad. Good morning, Spooky. But the systems that we have no longer serve the consciousness that we're stepping into. Good morning, Sandra. And so people are starting to recognize that the very structure or foundation that was built is not serving this new level of consciousness that is arising. And it's quite awesome and amazing. And it's really just a reawakening, a re-recognizing, a resurrection of who we are truly, and trying to understand how do we live into 100% who we are. And there's a couple of things, a couple of clues. I'll give you guys a couple of clues on how you can get there. And your journey, of course, is going to be different. Everybody's journey is different. We know that. I can only speak from my perspective, but I do want to provide some insight as how to get there. And part of it is understanding that you are a multi-dimensional creature. You're not just one thing, right? If you were just one thing, we wouldn't have the consciousness behind what's going on. And so I've been looking into sort of the eyes and how the eyes perceive, reality and stuff. Now, there's been studies done on this from doctors, and there's a doctor who did all these studies on the eyes and the different nerve endings and how the body responds, and the pupils and how that impacts the body. Or how the pupils are impacted by what the body is experiencing and what we're perceiving. So really, we're seeing a shift in consciousness through the lens of the way that we perceive the world around us. And that perception, the way that we see the world, gets to shift into what we want to see, because it's only a perception. Now, we know that in the eyes, right, our eyeballs, we really are seeing things upside down, and then our brain puts it right side up. So we see it upside down first. So you got to ask yourself, are we in the upside down? Maybe we are. Maybe we got to go through the veil and go to the right side up, which would be the pineal gland, right? Or we have the third eye, where the third eye opens and it's just the merging of the two eyes into one. So we know that we are interdimensional, because if you closed your eyes, you can see visions, right? You can see things. We have the dream world, which I call the quantum realm where anything and anything is possible, where the laws of nature we're not confined by the laws of nature. 4D world. Could be 4D, but so there's different ways to look at this, Spooky, and I'm not 100% sure. I think there's more than just 4D. I think it's density as well, how light we are. So the density, the dimensionals. Good morning, Antonio. I think I said good morning. Cheers. That it could be the dimensional space that we're viewing in the holographic maybe picture, but it's also a density. So if we were going into a fourth-fifth density, our bodies need to be lighter in order to receive that frequency pattern or that frequency wave. Because if your body's so dense, you're vibrating at a lower frequency. And as you become lighter, your vibrational frequencies get lighter. It's sort of like the heart, right? The heart itself actually has a vibrational frequency that can manifest like miles out. Like we can radiate energy through our heart miles away. okay, which is really kind of cool. And then we have these energy potentials around us that we can't even see unless we have specific lighting and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of energy out there. How do we match ourselves to energy to receive maybe like interdimensional space time, which we know that people are talking about? And I can talk about it here. I typically don't always talk about the space time, but I think it's time to start communicating these things because I think people are already on that track to understand that they are interdimensional creatures, that they're not just a human in a body, that there's something beyond. And we've been seeking it, right? And so in the surge, it's just, I say, find yourself back to God. Why? Because God will give you the answers that are right for you. You'll understand what you're supposed to do. Now, we have guides that show up. And if we thought about this whole thing as a holographic vision or understanding, we would say, oh, that we are interacting with maybe projectiles. I call them projectiles, but we are only engaging with God in each thing that we have, everything around us, right? And if we looked at it and then, well, what about the fear? What about all these things? You know, people say, yeah, that's a part of it. It's a part of it. You can't deny it. You can't say it doesn't exist. I mean, we can say nothing and everything exists, right? We can go to that interdimensional space and understand that. But when we're looking at the view of the holographic, they call it the holographic universe. There's many theories about how we're viewing and observing this particular space-time. And in a holographic universe, right, everything is interconnected by a web. But what's behind the web? Right? What's operating the web? What's behind that? So for me, I say God, right? God is all. And you could call it universe, whatever you call it. Somebody called it the void the other day, which I thought was really cool. Well, all I see is the void. Okay, so the void could be considered God. And why? Because in God, everything is possible. It's the I am that I am, and that's it. It just is. It is because it is. And out of that potential of nothingness comes the everything, which is full potential for everything. So we have the ability to now transcend this space time. Really, it's dependent upon how we're engaging the world. Are you engaging the world locked in that old time and space? What are you paying attention to? What are you listening to? Where's your programming coming from? Who are you allowing to program you? Are you even looking at the program that you have? The program inside of you, okay? Not the program that's the external program, because the external program is going to exist. And that's part of the fear-based programming or the love-based programming that isn't really love, but twists you into manipulate, whatever it is. Anything outside of just love and God is going to be, I would say, a virus or an ego or whatever you want to call it, a mind flare. It shows up, right? But it's there so that we can merely observe. It allows us to observe. It gives us the duality. It gives us the third dimensional space time. But we can also transcend this. And a lot of it has to do, again, with what we do. What is your internal programming? And the way that we can do this is by time loops. Looking at the time loops, I've talked about it in terms of patterns, like the way behavioral patterns. We have certain behavioral patterns that we play into over and over and over and over again, and we repeat stories over and over and over again. The stories that we're listening to. So it's really taking those stories and asking yourself, what story am I listening to? Am I hearing the same stories? Am I saying the same stories over and over again? Because that becomes a time loop. That becomes the loop of time. And when, good morning, Quad D. Good morning, Small Vale in the NYC. When we become that vortex of time loops, we steer our way from really transcending time space or space time or time space. I'd say space time because it's space first, then time. That when we start to go in these time loops, we steer our time away from our divine purpose, our divine birthright. from transcending time space, from becoming an interdimensional being, because we're focused on time loops. So the time loops are like a spiral. So think about it this way. Think about your subconscious mind. Okay. I'm going to just take you to the subconscious mind real quick. And that's where some of the automatic programming is stored. Okay. So if you saw yourself as a computer, there's this storage that is there that does this automatic thing. So we've been programmed to automatically to walk. Okay, we understand how to walk. It took some time to get through the program, and then once we were there, we know how to walk. That becomes an automatic for people who can walk. Okay, some people can't walk, but the ones that can, okay, or use your hands, or learn to eat, whatever it is, right? Those are automatic. So we could chew gum and walk at the same time. Automatic. Stored in the subconscious mind, allows us to contemplate, right, other things. Allows us to use our conscious mind to focus in on other things. Now, the storage of the subconscious mind is the programming, the baseline programming that we have within ourselves. So if you dug deep into the subconscious mind, there are stories that are automatically playing. And when we get caught in that story, we get caught in a time loop. The time loop keeps us trapped. It keeps us trapped from contemplating God, from contemplating our divine birthright, from contemplating how we're going to maneuver. So when you dig deeper into the subconscious mind, it's really just asking yourself the simple questions of what stories have I programmed that are running my life into a time loop, that are keeping me in, that are taking my time, that are not allowing me to progress. Now, is it easy to change the story time loop? Yes, it is. But it takes what? Presence and awareness. And it also takes vulnerability and communication. It takes all of those things. It takes you using your throat. And again, a mastery class that I took, but it's experience your experience and communicate your experience with the intentions of others getting it. So when we are able to communicate properly with a proper language, now what do I mean by proper language? There are language we use to express or articulate the experience, which I've talked about before. And sometimes we get stuck in a time loop from the subconscious mind with the projectiles or the holographic universe or the projections that we see. Why do we get stuck in the time loop? Well, it's because of the language. Or it's because we continue to allow ourselves to fall into the same patterns over and over again automatically. So you've got to dig deep, or don't, totally up to you, right? Digging deep into the subconscious mind to sort of pull up those things. Now, does it mean they ever go away? No, that doesn't mean that they go away. That's where people, and this is where I feel like there's misdirects. So I would highly recommend that if you're reading something, that you look at places where there's misdirection, right? Through God, there's no misdirection. So always go back to God. That's what I do over and over and over again. But still, sometimes patterns show up. We go to God and patterns show up, and you're like, "What's the lesson? How come this type of relationship, or how come this type of thing keeps happening? What is it that's causing this time loop to actually, this vortex to continue to show up in my life? How do I maneuver out of the vortex? How do I allow myself the time to focus on my birthright, to focus on my God self, to become a fourth, or go into the fourth density, fifth density, or dimension? Well, how do I become an interstellar person, being? I'm reading this book called The Supernatural Human, which is, I just started it, but it's a lot of the thought process is a lot of what I talk about. And I'm like, oh, wow, everybody's kind of waking up to this. I think they're getting it now. And it's quite phenomenal. But how do we get there? Again, it's looking at the time loops. Ask yourself these questions. So being present and aware, and asking yourself, okay, so what stories do I continue to do? So if you're talking to friends, or if you're talking to people, is it the same story over and over again? Or does it change? It's almost like we're in a time glitch, you know? where people just repeat themselves over and over and over, but nothing's changing. It's just the same story. And you're like, whoa, like I'm stuck in this vortex of same thing over and over. And then you go somewhere else and it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. So asking yourself, what is, like, in the subconscious mind, what is the program? Who programmed you that way? What programmed you that way? And I think that's an appropriate way to communicate it. There might be other words that people use, maybe not programming, but they could be like, what weeds were planted in your subconscious mind, or, you know, there's different ways to articulate the same message, and different people say it in different ways. But we're in a digital era, so I think it's appropriate to talk about it from a place of like computing. At least I think people will get it from that perspective, where it's the programming that's internal to us, and it's the programming that plays automatic. So what is your programming? And where did that seed of programming come from? So the seed of the programming, or you can even say just the seed, if we wanted to go more organic, like we are trees, what seeds were planted that you started to sprout out the way you did? Or what programs were inserted into you that you started to operate in a certain way? So it could be, you know, we can see it from different lenses. In the operation is how we engage and view and look at the world around us, the observation of it. Through what? Through our programming, through the seeds that were planted within us. So we look at those and we say, okay, which ones are driving us into time vortexes where time is being taken away? What lesson, and how do I redirect that? Acceptance. Accept it. Presence and acceptance. Then it's called transmutation after that. You go through coagulation, you go through all these different alchemic processes with a situation, and that brings it up through your Kundalini energy. It allows it to rise up and out so that you're able to articulate the experience of it. Once you communicate it and get it out, then you're able to release it and you're able to recognize it for what it is. It doesn't go away. It's not that it goes away. Again, that's not the point. The point is that you recognize that it's there. The point is that you understand that it's operating within you. Now, there could be reprogramming of DNA, RNA, and all that kind of stuff that I believe is happening. I feel it happening even to myself. Is that when the reprogramming steps in, the karmatic patterns in your life start to shift as well. So as within, so without, we start to see that the external world starts to shift a little bit. Not because we want it to shift, but because we're simply doing the work of shifting ourselves. Again, as within, so without. We cannot change people, but we can change ourselves. And when we start to feel the vibrational frequencies and the DNA and RNA structures starting to shift, and codons maybe are turning on, that when that starts to happen, we start to see that the actual trauma that was maybe in a family starts to shift. And we start to see the entanglement, and then that's God's miracle. And it's pretty badass, actually. To see it happen around you, to really clear out the space. Now, Kundalini is part of that. Kundalini allows for that energy, the chakra systems to open up and the energy to flow like this up. Now, some people have gone crazy, and I understand why. Opening up that Kundalini energy takes some preparation. Like, you've got to make sure that you are prepared for what may show up, because the subconscious mind in operation on the external gets a little crazy and it's a little weird to navigate. That's all I'm going to say. And finding yourself grounded, right? So the root, making sure your root chakra is completely, right? Good morning, Suze. Completely clean and grounded. And when the root chakra has that foundation, you can always find your way back. Also, a couple of other things in terms of this is that your heart is your transmutation center. The heart is the place where you can pull from the spirit and from the lower root and bring it together. So if you ever feel like you're lost in maybe you're lost in time space in this in 3D, okay? We'll just say that in the third dimensional space time. Let's just say you're there. Okay, and you're trying to figure out how do you connect to your stellar body or to transcend that, or how to connect to your God self, right? To really embody the spirit of God within you, and you're stuck. You've got to bring it from the root all the way up to the heart. And then we communicate, articulate, and then we bring it up to the crown chakra and up and out, right? And we connect. Now, you can do this, and some people, it's funny because some people are either too in the up or too in the down, and they don't know how to bring it to the middle. The middle is the heart. That's the transmutation center. It is what helps us to bridge them together. It helps us to come out of the ether into the body. It helps us go from the body out to the ether. It's the heart. And there's charging stations within the body. Stations that we can charge up to move the energy up and out, starting with the sexual organs, right? So we have that. And so what's going on right now with the world and what we see with all the pedophilia and all that stuff that's happening, right, is that the root chakra is really, really, it's damaged in a lot of ways for a lot of people. And it's either too masculine or too feminine, or it's not balanced. And so we see the result of that. If you were healthy in your sexual organs, none of this would happen, right? Because there would be a balance and a flow and an understanding that there's a respect for our sexual organs, like to respect it, that there are boundaries that shouldn't be crossed, that it is fully up to us to decide how we choose to utilize it, and that we do it in a healthy way. Okay, once that happens, right, the energy starts to move up. So once we really heal the root chakra, now that's important when you're becoming or stepping into the next dimensional time space. Because why? Because if we don't deal with our root issues, if we don't deal with that and we start moving Kundalini up on the external, when we get to the external, we start seeing the manifestation of our subconscious mind in the external world, we can go crazy. That's what can happen. You can totally go crazy, and people have. So really, really being careful. It's okay to go slow as you start to move into this new space, as we start to move into a whole new way of viewing the world, a new consciousness. Be gentle with yourself. You don't need to rush it. If you know that you're on your journey and you're a child of God and light, it doesn't have to be rushed. Everything that you need will be provided for you through God. So that's why I say go back to God over and over and over and over and over again, constantly, all the time, every day, all day, and see God in everything. God will help you heal through that. So as you're moving your Kundalini up, or as you're moving your energy up through your chakras, that you say, okay, I'm going to ask for the guidance of God to help me through this. And when things feel too much, or they feel too scary, or they feel you see demons coming up, or you see whatever it is inside of you that you fear, just give it to God. God will help you dissolve it. God will give you the answers. Go back over and over again. Okay. And sometimes it comes up to the heart and our heart races. It is what I call anxiety. Just breathe through it, right? Hold your heart with your hands and take deep breaths, because that will transmute the energy. Always bringing it back to heart center. That's why they say heart center, right? Heart center, because heart is the transmutation center. It'll transmute the energy from either the spirit or the body, and they bridge together. And the goal, okay, if you are looking to be an interdimensional creature, which you are, but you're actually seeking to connect to that part of yourself, that you remember that you don't need to stay stuck up there, and that you don't need to stay stuck here on this time space either. Space time, sorry. That you can actually transcend space time through the heart, through the Kundalini, through the chakras, through the nutrition you have, through exercise, through taking care of the vessel and allowing the vessel to heal itself. And once you get there, you become the I am that I am, which is I am that I am. And I think I understand why it's two I ams. Because there's the I am, which is the interdimensional space of completely embodying that particular thing. And then there's the I am in motion. So there's the two-pronged part where you are the embodiment of something. Like I am the embodiment of health, of healing. Like I am healing. And then there's the I am healing. So the I am healing looks at the projection of everything is healing. It says that everything is a part of the healing. And then there's the that I am, which is I am healing, which is my body is healing. But you have this altruistic idea of healing up here, right, in your third eye or your projection that you're out, I am. So you're the embodiment of it. And then the embodiment comes out into the external world of the body itself. But the projection is the healing of everything around you, not just the body, but everything. You're the embodiment of healing. So everybody around you gets to heal. And I believe this is what they were doing, you know, Jesus and Buddha and all the teachers were able just to embody healing. They were the embodiment of healing. And then because of that, it transcended outward into the external world, and then they were able to heal themselves. So it was really an internal, external thing. As you heal, people around you heal. As you become the embodiment of healing, people around you will naturally heal. Why? Because they're a projection of you, that you are, right? That I am, that I am. We say, I am love. Be the embodiment of love. Radiate love. Radiate healing. Radiate whatever it is. And so it is. So again, practices to get you there. Everybody can go. Anybody who's ready to go can go. It's not like there's only a few chosen people, only God's chosen people. No, we're all chosen. It's just we got to make the choice, and that's really simply it. You either choose it or you don't. It's that simple. And there's no right, wrong, good, or bad if you choose to or not. It just is. Whatever you choose is yours. But we all have the ability to do this. We all have the ability to reconnect to our stellar body, to really lock into our stellar body and bridge the gap between our stellar body, okay, into our body, our physical body. Thanks, Suze, and I love you. So again, I'm getting a little deeper on these things, and trust me, there's just so much more. There's just, the rabbit hole never ends, I promise you, and I love it. That's what I love about this particular world, is that there's so much. And it's fun, right? You can have fun with it. You don't have to be so, you can if you want to, but you don't have to be so strict and crazy. Like, just have fun. Like, this is a playground. It's a playground to have fun with. So find something you're interested in when it comes to your spiritual realm and be like, I want to understand this. I want to understand that. You know, there's no need to fear if it's through God. If it doesn't suit you and it's not right for you, then don't do it. It's okay, because there's billions of systems out there. There's endless systems to get you to the next dimensional space-time, right? There's several ways. And that's why we had several people, teachers on this earth, healers on this earth, who have showed up over and time again to support people. And some different language, different ways, different people hear the message from different people in different ways. But be free. Be free to just explore different things, different avenues. And you don't have to be so hard on yourself. And I'm talking to myself, by the way. Like this morning, I did Kundalini practice for the first time in a long time, and it felt really good, but I'm being called to do it again. I had stopped for a while. Now I'm doing my breath work again, my Kundalini breath work, right? But I like to work out, so I do my workouts. And then that's another practice for me in the spiritual realm, and doing martial arts. And, and I don't have to be a pro at all of them. I'm doing it for the mere enjoyment of connecting with God through experience. Connect with God through experiences. We can't connect to God through experiences if we're caught up in storylines that don't serve us, because that's the time that's being taken away from us experiencing God. So just understand it. Just be with it. Think about the conversations you're having. Be like, what am I talking? Why am I talking? Like everything I talk about is God. All day, every day, all day. That's it. It's very simple for me. I'm like, God. And it goes out, of course, because God is all knowing, all great. And so when you talk about God, there's so many perceptions, right? And so there's different experiences, and people have their stories, and you get to listen to their stories of God. But it's all about God, and it's all connection. And before you know it, you're just like, okay, I love you. And then you just have love, and then you love each other, and you're like, all right, we're cool, we're good, I love you. And then you just love, and that's it. It's very simple. But yet it's so hard, challenging. So when we can see that, and when we can allow ourselves to open up to the fact that we are interdimensional creatures, I don't know if I've ever said this on Spirit and Coffee. I think I started just giving some kind of a little bit of drips to it, knowing that maybe not a lot of people would show up, but it's quality over quantity all the time. Who's ready to hear the message, they'll show up. Who's not, that's okay. And maybe who's not going to listen to me, it's fine too. Or maybe they're doing their thing, right? So become that interdimensional being. And dimensions, yes, but also density. Remember density. And I had a friend who told me this. I think we're entering the fourth, fifth density, not dimension. Made sense to me because our bodies are so dense, they're material. And we can see a fifth dimensional space-time, but we're still in the body that's still material and grounded and heavy. If we become light, then we allow ourselves to move through a space that we didn't know we could move through before. So I think one would be time. Maybe I had an epiphany. Maybe the fourth dimension is a concept of the time that we perceive, but the density is the space in which we occupy it. Okay, that just came to me right now because I'm talking about it, and I didn't really think of it this way until just right now. I just had kind of an epiphany, you guys. So on Spirit and Coffee, I had an epiphany about something. So that's really cool, and I think that could be true. I'd have to look into it a little bit more. So I would say the fourth dimension is time, but the fourth and fifth density is space. I'm onto something here. If we are to step into the fourth dimension, we have to step into the fourth density or fifth density to actually see the fourth dimension, time. Okay, I'm going to start looking into that because I think I'm going to get more downloads like I always do. And then I may be able to articulate how this works and operates through our bodies. And literally, it's you taking care of your body. That's really it. When you take care of your body, you start to become lighter. When you become lighter, you start to view more time, and then the time loops that we have. So look at your time loops. So we have time loops. And when you look at your time loops, you're looking at your 3D time loops. Where are you spending your time? And can you spend your time more on God and contemplation of God and your stellar body? And if you do, what are the instructions, right? Because you're going to receive instructions from God on how to support you through that. Once you receive your instructions, then you can start to nurture your body back to health so that you can then become lighter and walk through this density space time, this density space. Okay, I hope that makes sense, but it just all came to me just right now. There's two things happening. Yep. There's a fourth dimension time, but there's a fourth density, fifth density. Okay, so get lighter. In other words, take care of your body. You choose or don't choose. It's part of it. Okay. Awesome. Yes, processing it all. Yeah, Suze. I mean, it might be, I don't know if it's a lot, but I'm kind of on full blast for people who are just ready to really just experience their self as their God self. I mean, it's time. I kept telling people wake up like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Actually, my whole life. Just kidding. I was still waking up too, trust me. It's a gift to get it. I'm trying. Yes, and you know what, Suze, just take it a little bit at a time. Little bit at a time. Start healing. Or ask yourself, not start healing, but ask yourself where you can heal. Good morning. So, and then as you move that healing up, you know, allow yourself to be authentic. Now, it takes time, but you know what? Through God, everything happens like boom. When you ask God for something and you mean it, just better be careful what you're asking for. I'll tell you a funny story one day on here about what I asked God for and what I got. And it was comical because I believe, in my personal opinion, I believe God has a sense of humor. And so I just laugh. And he and I say he, but it's okay. You know, God is neither he or she, but whatever. But anyway, I say he. I just laugh. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. You got jokes, God. And, and they're not harmful. They're just funny. And then you go, ha, 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 you're so funny. You're such a comedian. No. All right. So there you have it. We'll continue on this. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please, you can email me at spiritedbrew@gmail.com. Or you send me a message on my Facebook Live or whatever. Okay, I'm here for you guys because we get to do it together and everybody's worthy of it. And so don't you ever think that you're not. That's a no-no, okay? Or you can if you want to, but I'm going to say I don't want you to. I want you to understand that you're worthy, you are loved, and that you guys have the strength and the power within you, and it's in you. It's not in, I mean, I know what I am. It's in me, but it's in you. And so it's not like this is just a special thing for special people. No, it's anybody who chooses. It's a choice. And when you choose in, everything will be revealed to you. So there you go. You either choose in or you don't. So there you go. It's very simple. It's not a force. So there you have it. Okay. Thank you so much. Hope you have an amazing week. You too, Spooky. Why the tears? No crying. Or you cry. You can cry if you need to cry. I just don't know why the tears. But there you go. So I love you guys. Really big, beyond understanding. I love you guys in a 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional time space. I love you in the 3rd density, 5th density, 20th billion densities. Okay. So have a great day. I love you. Oh, Mama's making a present. Hi, Mom. Oh, say hi.
Morning.
I don't know if anybody's on the live videos, but they're definitely on Podbean. So there you go. Okay, so have a great day. I love you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow.